Hey folks, it's Carl over at Sterling Health and Fitness and who'shealthy.com. Thanks for tuning in. So I'm excited to have a very special guest with me today, returning to our program for another visit, and a name very familiar to many of you. This gentleman is at the forefront of helping people to move smarter, move better, and feel great. And of course, I'm speaking of the always inspiring and always amazing Dr. Perry Nickelston of Stop Chasing Pain. Thanks for doing this, man. Thanks for joining me today. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful as always. Thank you so much for having me on. Anytime I get to talk about what lights my fire and I'm passionate about, which is human movement, I'm happy. And I love your shirt. Nice one.
This is it. In the spirit,
yeah.
You know, I've never had a hoodie in my life until we met a couple months ago and you gave me this. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I can tell you there are people who will say it's the truth. I wear this every day.
Yeah, it's great.
Often, but I wear it. I'm worried I'm going to wear it out. And it provokes questions. It's really cool. I was at the store the other day and this guy comes up and he's like, how do I fix my knees? And I didn't know what he was talking about at first. And I said, excuse me? He says, your shirt. You must know how to fix knees.
So, yeah, actually I do, right?
Yeah. I said, I know.
But that's awesome.
But it is cool.
Well, it's always about the swag, right? Which is the branding. And, you know, it really does mean a lot that you wear that. I mean, I put those out there for people to just, you know, show their support. And, you know, the name kind of speaks for itself. I mean, I chose that name. We went over that in a prior interview. But, you know, it sparks people to say, what does that mean? Or I've had people when I'm walking through the airport, because I'll wear it when I teach, and they go, you know, that's a great name. And I'm like, I know, right? It is, right?
Yeah, it is. It's great. All the trainers at the gym I'm at SU, they all want one too. So I said, hey, go on his site, man. Maybe he's got the clothing section.
I do. I got them all, man. I've got hats, shirts, you know, tank top. The tank tops for women are hot. I mean, they're off the hook. I mean, that's probably my biggest seller. And then now that the winter's coming up, I'll have to hook you up if you come to the workshop we're going to talk about with the beanie hat.
Oh, cool.
So you'll be repping.
Cool. Well, speaking of workshops, that's the reason we're connecting here today, is to talk about a special event that you have coming up. It is called Primal Movement Chains, and this is going to be on Sunday, January 25th, 2015, at our friend's place there, Evan Shate's business called Kinetic Physical Therapy in Ramsey, New Jersey. So I'll be there, first of all, and I'm real excited about this Primal Movement Chains workshop. Please, we'd love to hear about it. I want to hear all you can share about this and try to help get some people to register.
Well, thank you very much. It's a great opportunity for me to share that. I mean, the name of the workshop is called Primal Movement Chains, Moving Beyond Mobility. And what that means is primal is going back to basics, right, of the patterns where we all learn to move and get our patterns down and gain our stabilization, which is a lot of movement down on the ground. So it's ground-based patterns primarily. And the movement chains is combining different systems of the body that I've found that working with these systems absolutely positively changes somebody's body in an instant. And if you want to decrease pain that's been bothering you forever, and people have just been treating the site of pain, and we talked about that before, of where it hurts and they don't look anyplace else, or you're kind of getting tired of the boring old school corrective exercises and stuff that you're trying to do, or you just want to be a badass. I mean, I say if you've hit like a training level that you can't break through, this very often will find that linchpin for you. And Movement Chains is really bringing into focus the fascial systems of the body. So we work with those because the fascial systems are force transmission lines, basically. I mean, in order for you to move, you have to be able to absorb, direct, disperse, generate, and release force. And if you can't do that efficiently, one, you're going to get hurt, or two, you're just not going to be performing at your optimum, and you can have decrease in your durability, where you maybe can't do what you love better, faster, harder, stronger, longer. So I integrate all the fascial lines in there, and I integrate the movement subsystems of the body, and the subsystems are extremely powerful. These are how every single human being, regardless of how you look today or where you are in your life, you all learn to develop these movement subsystems the same way and roughly around the same time, and your body and your brain have just really forgotten how to integrate them in together. So those slings are your anterior oblique sling in the front of your body that gives the X across the front, and then the posterior oblique sling, which is the opposite in the back that counterbalances that, the yin to the yang. And then you have what's called your lateral subsystem that gives you the ability to stand on one leg, all right, or walk, because walking is just a single leg stance over and over and over, right?
Right.
And then you have your deep longitudinal subsystem. The deep longitudinal subsystem is your ground reaction force impact foot strike on the ground that really cranks up when you run or you have to stop and pivot and shift. And the other one is the intrinsics. That's the intra-abdominal pressure, primary core system of your body that needs to come first. So I teach you how they developed in each human being and the time frame and how we can restore them back from there. And then I'm going to go teach you how to release the powerhouse 5 joints in the body, the 5 most important areas that lack mobility, that just take everybody down. And the whole premise behind the course is you need to do way more than mobility work. So moving beyond that, right? Because I think a lot of people try to get mobility now through stretching or foam rolling or different types of things. But stabilization and stability, to me, that is the secret weapon. That's what I call the mojo or the magic. Stability is the name of the game, and we teach you how to get that back through understanding your brain and the nervous system, how it patterns everything in together. So when you get the mobility back that you've lost, you can get the stability to keep it there.
Wow,
that's the key.
That's taking things to a whole other level, man. I love that.
It's going to be. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I say to people that I guarantee you when you leave that workshop, you are going to have a very powerful yet very simple protocol. It's like an algorithm that you go through that will change your life and change somebody else's life. I have no doubt about it, because this is stuff I've been putting together over the last 15 years of learning from really smart people, then integrating different strategies into a program, and then taking it back into the trenches and seeing if this shit actually works, right? Like, works, but it stays there, all right? Because everything works for a while, everything. But can it have longevity? Can it hold? And then this is based on the RAIL system that I teach, which is RAIL.
Right.
And that's what you're going to learn, the RAIL Movement Reset System.
Awesome. That's great.
And I can tell you what that means if you want.
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask you about that. I have a bunch of questions going on in my head, but let's start with that one. What is RAIL? What's the RAIL system?
Yeah. So RAIL is the actual way that you're going to correct these areas that you see. So the first premise is that, one, if you have a lack of mobility somewhere, or you have pain anywhere in your body, you have an underlying stabilization dysfunction. Something in your brain and your nervous system cannot maintain stability, and you cannot transmit force efficiently across your body. Because the key of this is cross-body patterns, right? So it's working with the rotational system of the body or the transverse system of the body. That's where the power lies. And this system teaches you how to correct it in a very specific way. So the R stands for release, where once we find the area that we need to free up or that has some restrictions in there, either a joint or soft tissue, we release that, and we do that, which is pretty awesome. I'm excited to announce that I'm a master instructor for rock tape kinesiology tape, which people may know if they follow my work.
Yep.
And rock tape is coming out with their own soft tissue mobility release kit, which is called the Rock and Roller.
Oh, all right.
And basically, cool. It's really cool, man. It's a foam roller that has end caps on it that screw in, and then inside the roller you have balls, bands, and release tools. So you can have any way that you want to release tissue and then reset tissue. and then it's held all together with a guitar strap that goes into either end so you can carry it over your back. And
that's really cool. I like that. That's a great
it's
idea.
really neat. Yeah, and so that's what we're going to be using for part of the program, and those kits are going to be marked with the Stop Chasing Pain logo, co-branded with the rock tape. So when you're there, you'll use the kit, and you'll fall in love with the kit, and then if you want to buy one, the one you're using there, then you can buy it and leave with it, and then start using it.
Yeah, that's great. So, I love that. I love that. So you were also talking, one of the things I find really interesting.
Let me finish the rail first, though.
Yeah, that's right. Well, the other thing I think is really interesting about this, and I'm really looking forward to learning more about this at the workshop, is when you're taking all the different subsystems and everything into account, your cross-body patterns, and the brain integration, too, because I think a lot of the education out there, they're not talking, not that they're doing bad things, a lot of it's great, but they're not taking it to that level where they're actually talking about integration of the brain, let's say, because how often do you hear about that in your standard training out there, even if it's advanced standard training? I don't hear about it much.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, I'm happy to see that. I think it's beginning to be discussed more than ever. But sometimes that can be intimidating for people too, right? If you start talking about the brain and the nervous system, and then it just overcomplicates everything. So it's really tough to make something simple. I'll be honest with you. And Dan John says that. He says, like, people don't realize how tough it is to make something simple. And that's what I've tried to do here, is using the brain and neuroscience, the stuff that we've learned over the last 5 years. And like I said in our last podcast, we've learned more about the brain in the last 5 years than the last 500, and of why the body does what it does. It has a rhyme and reason for everything. You just have to figure it out. And so I've integrated that kind of primal neurological survival mechanism of the body, of why it does what it does, how it behaves, and understanding why it's doing what it's doing, and then making that part of the corrective. So after you do the release part, the R, the activation and integration is that neuroscience part. So that's where I begin to try to teach your brain and your body to communicate with each other again, so that you can get back to these patterns that they once knew but have forgotten. But because they're primal patterns, they're what we call reflexive. They should be there and turn on like that. And once you start to retrain them, your body and your brain remembers it very quickly. And then it restores the pattern.
It's an innate pattern, like something we're born with. That may have been just let go, or we forgot because we don't do that. So in a sense, you're kind of, you in effect, to some degree, maybe retraining the nervous system or the brain, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's almost like reteaching it, basically. I mean, it's been there, it's done that, but it's forgotten these patterns because, like you said, we just don't really do them. I mean, human beings are made to move, and your brain has one purpose. It's not for thinking, really. It's designed to move you, right? I mean, it's about adaptation and putting movement patterns together, and it does things for survival. So there's certain patterns that everybody does regardless. One is breathing. So, I mean, your body is going to have you breathe any way it needs to so you don't die. But another one is the need for food. And in order for us to eat, we've all got to be able to walk and move. So hip flexion and gait is a primal pattern of survival. So those are two patterns of hip flexion and breathing that we pay attention to, because those are ingrained in your brain. If you don't move and you don't breathe, you're dead. Yeah. So that's what it comes down to. And then programming that into, we don't climb stuff anymore, right? We don't run, we don't do things like we used to do. So we sit all day, or we look down on a smartphone, and we don't rotate because we're holding something. So we lose the ability to efficiently transmit force with every pattern that we do. And it's just about making the brain and the body feel safe again with movement in order so that it can learn. Because we talked about it before, that if your brain perceives any amount of threat in the system or in the environment, it will fall back on self-protective compensation patterns to protect itself, and it will not allow you to learn a new pattern because it's scared. And people go through things too quickly. So we slow movement down a lot with the course that we do, and we do most of it on the ground, because when you're on the ground, you have more of your body in contact with the earth, so you feel a lot safer, but you also have more proprioceptive tactile input from your surroundings to reteach your brain, because that's how you learn to move on the ground. You're back in touch with the ground, hands, feet, everything. We don't do that anymore. So that's, the body is starving for that stimulation again. And plus, in my opinion, it's really fun, it's really different, it can be challenging, but we teach you how to build up from simple to difficult. And once we get you from the release and the activation and the integration safely in an environment on the ground where you're not overloaded with a movement that's too far beyond what you're capable of doing. And what I mean by capable is you can be strong enough. You can be the strongest person in the world. You can be the biggest badass in the world. I'm not talking about capability from strength. I'm talking about capability from reflexive movements that can hold you where you need to be held from before you have to fall back on these outside muscles and joints for your stability. And then I can get you into locomotion. Locomotion is standing up, cross-body patterns with movement. So where people make a mistake, in my opinion, is they release things, they stretch things, they roll things, and they stand up and they kick the shit out of themselves. And they missed the A and the I. They just went from release to locomotion. Okay. And you gave the body and the brain all this new movement and range of motion, and it has no idea what to do with it.
Oh, interesting.
And so it's just going to go back.
So with the rail system, you are reprogramming so that your body will fall back onto, it will use those new patterns, which are going to help you. You get in a situation where you need your stability, or you're going to take a fall, or you get knocked, you don't see something coming and somebody hits you. Instead of falling down, you don't fall down. Just an example,
Yeah, that's exactly right, because that's what real life is, right? I mean, real life is chaos. It's the unexpected. It's today, people are less aware of their environment and their body than ever before. So, I mean, we're focused in on this, so it's easy to get hit, fall. You lose that sense of stabilization that's reflexive, like that. So you shouldn't have to be walking around bracing and stiff as a board to protect yourself. If you do that, that means that you are inherently unstable. You need to be able to react very quickly. And the easiest way that you can think about that is, you ever been walking, right, and then you step off a curb that you really didn't know was there, or it came a little early, that jolt? And a lot of people, they fall to their knees with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge. That's the reflexive jolt that will hit your system, right? So the idea in my mind is that your body is really brilliant at compensation and adaptation and survival. We have to work with that, with what the brain is designed to do, and to your benefit.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's funny, today it's a little snowy up here in Syracuse, and I was going into work early up at SU, and it snowed overnight, not a lot, but there was some ice. So I'm walking across the campus, and my foot leaves from under me. I didn't go down, but I'm thinking, boy, I'm glad that I practiced some of the stuff I do, because I would have fallen like 5 years ago. I would have been down. And that's not a big deal, right? But a little while later, I'm walking behind this lady, And I can't help it now. After going through a lot of the NASM, corrective exercise certification course, and Dr. Emily's barefoot rehab certification recently, Dr. Emily Splickle, amazing person, and I learned a lot from her course there, and I've learned a lot from her and from you. And so I'm behind this lady, and I can't help looking at people and observing, not a judgment, just an observation, serious eversion on both feet. Knees are knocking in. I'm thinking, man, if she hits some ice, she's gone. If the wind blows too hard, she could be gone, because I see so much weakness there. The girl's, poor thing's probably only 20 years old. And
wow.
I see it everywhere, though. I can't help when I'm walking around. I notice people's gait patterns. I notice all these things that I try to fix when I'm with people, So you're right. It's a different society we live in, and we're not doing the things we were even 10 years ago with smartphones now. 20 years ago, 50 years ago, forget about it. Everything was totally different, And when we were kids, I'm 53, so, in the 60s and 70s, we were out moving around. We were squatting a lot. We were getting up a lot. It's not quite as common these days
absolutely.
in the new generation. So this is
that's what I'm trying to get people back to, is just to get back to, and it's really funny because people are not used to being down there, and these patterns can be challenging, and people get confused when I ask them to get into a simple creeping pattern, which is just, basically opposite arm, opposite leg working with each other in unison. And they've forgotten how to do that. And just getting that pattern back can do some amazing things for people.
Yeah, this sounds like it could be a life changer to be able to know about this stuff and to implement it, a life changer, potentially.
Did I lose you?
Well,
I think I lost you there, so I may have to edit that up.
Okay, I was saying that this sounds like it can be a life changer. This information can change lives, like you said in the beginning.
I think so. You mentioned falling, right? I mean, falling is something that, especially if you're older, if you fall, I mean, it's statistically research that your likelihood of dying within several years after a fall skyrocket. Like, Dan John recently talked about this in his new DVD with Gray, that if he was diagnosed with cancer and somebody had a fall, the likelihood of the cancer person being alive 3 years from now is higher than the guy who fell. So your life spirals down when you can't move, right? Yeah. So if I can help someone be more comfortable with their body, or get comfortable down on the ground, because when you fall, you're probably going to be on the ground, right? So you need to be able to learn how to control it or to fall and then get back up. And I don't think age should be a factor of saying, oh, I've got a 65-year-old client, I can't have them get on the ground. And my contention is that you should be getting them down there. You owe it to get them down there to move around and feel comfortable. And you mentioned the girl with the eversion of the flat foot and the knees caving in, right? Yeah. Which is extremely common with the feet are just atrocious for people today because all these crazy shoes that they're wearing, right? Or they're just sitting most of the time, not walking in bare feet at all. And Emily's course is fantastic. Everything in my mind when I look at you is the body trying to make itself stable. So if I think about that person you mentioned, if they're on ice, the nervous system already tenses up and it feels threat because it thinks it might fall. So it's going to tense up already to make itself stable. You're not going to get a lot of mobility on ice or your ass is grass, right? So, but if you think about a foot being flat, a flat foot is more stable to a body that can't get stability on its own, right? So the arch of your foot should be stable. And if it's not, it'll just flatten out to give you stability the wrong way. Right. And then knees caving in is a stability reaction to your body, because you'll learn in my course that adduction of your thighs is a classic indication of poor core stabilization, because your adductors are linked fascial-wise and intrinsic force transmission-wise to your neck and your rectus abdominis. So knee cave means your abs don't function well, 9 times out of 10. Right. And that's core. And
exactly.
You learn the different ways to work with the body, and the places that we go over with the Powerhouse 5 are your big toe, which I've taught an entire course on that I call your big toe mojo. Mojo is magic, right? Mm-hmm. Your ankle, your hip, your thoracic spine, and your upper cervical, your occiput, your skull, and the first bone in your cervical spine. Those are the ones you have to work with. And in my mind, the neck rules the movement road. If you don't own your neck, you don't own movement. So we start with that first on every single pattern that we deal with, and next to the diaphragm.
That's great, man. That's great. So let me ask you this about the upcoming workshop, the Primal Movement Chains workshop. The date is Sunday, January 25th, 2015. Kinetic Physical Therapy, Ramsey, New Jersey. We'll have your link and all that going across the screen here so people can click and go and connect in. First question is, can they register? They can register on your website, right? StopChasingPain.com.
Yeah, that's the place to register. So, yeah, if you go to StopChasingPain.com, you can go to see what's going to be covered in the workshop and to see an outline that's on there hour by hour. You can go to your Primal workshops and you can see all about it, and then you can click a link that will say register here. Or you can click the events tab. The events tab takes you to, upcoming things that I have. I have a lot I still have to post. The only one up there right now is the Ramsey one. And it'll walk you step by step through registration. So right now we've got an early bird special where it's normally $299 for the course, but it's $250 right now for early bird registration. And we're going to cap it at 30 people.
How long does the early bird go, just for anyone out there watching?
Yeah, I usually extend that pretty long. So I usually have that to at least 3 weeks out from the event. And sometimes I extend it to 2 weeks out and give people a chance to come on in. And you'll have, I've created a brand new, this is pretty cool, course manual to go with it. So the manual is probably going to be, right now, about 75 pages. And you'll have pictures of everything, and I'm shooting some photos next week. And the manual will go over everything and step by step. And then I'm going to be shooting some video as well of all the movements. So you'll have, if you come to the workshop, then you'll get access to see the videos afterwards anytime you want. And then you can just refresh your memory. And then I'll probably, middle of the year, record the whole thing for an upcoming DVD release, I think. I'm not sure yet. But it's a thing where after you take it, I want you to have resources that you can pull together and make sense. So basically, I'm going to show you the big rail sets with the top Powerhouse 5 and the subsystems and the slings. But you would use the rail for any part of your body. So if you had, for instance, if you said, I've got this pain in like my thumb and it just doesn't get better, then you apply the rail reset to it.
Okay. And
then you still do the same patterns that you would do for all the other 5 Powerhouse joints, because the body still uses the same base stabilization movements for no matter what part of the body you're dealing with. So it's very simple. You don't have to overcomplicate it, and it's not a matter of, I've got 500 exercises that I need to learn, and I don't know when to use them. That is, it's going to be very simple, very easy. Once you own these, then you can do whatever the hell you want after that.
Wow, that's great. That's great. So give me an idea, like who would this workshop be ideal for? I'm as a personal trainer, I know I'll be there. The personal training population sounds like a perfect thing for them. Who else?
Yeah, I mean, I jokingly say that, I mean, if you're a human being and you move, this course is for you.
Okay.
Because I do make it simple and easy to apply. You know, it's not something where you got to have a PhD to understand what I'm talking about. Because I think if we transcend it to everybody. That being said, most of the people who come to my course are people who are in the industry and work with people that they want to change their lives with. So it's definitely geared towards fitness professionals of any type, personal trainers, athletic trainers. I've also had chiropractors, physical therapists there. I've had a couple of medical doctors there that kind of get the big idea, occupational therapists. So if you work with people that are in pain or you're trying to improve the quality of their life, even through maybe just getting in better shape, because the more efficiently you move, the more calories you burn, the more body fat you're going to lose. It's a win-win. But
Right.
I've had people that have said, you know what, I've followed your stuff, and it's changed my life, and I'm just a person that works out on my own, and I just wanted to come to your course. You're more than welcome, too.
That's all right. That's good to know too, because that's like you say, it's anyone out there who's human and moves. Seriously.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. There's people that are suffering and have lost hope of getting over chronic musculoskeletal pain and even other types of pain. So
right.
I'm not kidding when I tell people that I think some of the content that you're going to learn from this one-day course is a game changer for people. I can say that because it's done more for my body personally than I've had over my whole 48 years on this planet. And then I said to myself, this is something I can't keep to myself because it's everybody should be doing that. And
Right.
I find that people don't get into programs sometimes because they feel it's so much, it's so overwhelming, I don't know where to start, and they end up quitting, or they make some results and then it doesn't stick. It's the classic stuff of losing weight, right? I mean, it's like same thing. So if I can make it easy, step A, B, C, D, or in this case, RAIL, and you follow that, I mean, you should have some nice, wonderful, positive changes.
Well, and with your track record shows that your stuff works. I mean, the proof is out there, man. So, again, this is exciting. I'm looking forward to this workshop very much because
Thank you.
Sponge and I want to learn everything from the people who know what they're talking about. So.
Yeah, don't we all, man? I mean, that's what it's about. I mean, sometimes I talk fast, I get carried away. I mean, it's something where you're so excited for something. It's like the kid at Christmas. You're like, I just want to share it, and that's what we need.
I feel that way about what I do too. And this whole learning process for me, honestly, I drove into work today at 6 o'clock. I'm on fire, excited. There's so many cool things on the horizon. You know, I knew I'd be talking with you today. I'm actually going to see Dr. Emily on Monday. And I have all these people in my life who I'm so lucky to have them in my life and to learn, and then to be able to share that with people who I work with and see them realizing results. And for me, that's what it's all about. I want people to move better, feel better also, because our society shows us that too many people aren't feeling well, they're not moving well, they're sick, whatever. There are a lot of problems out there. So it's I'm glad I found my niche here. Like what I love to do.
Yeah, well, me too. And I mean, it's wonderful to have you here, spreading the word to people and helping somebody that might not be aware of just how powerful movement is. I personally think that movement is the number one way that somebody can take back control of their life from pain. Because controlling what you eat, controlling how you move, and what you think, right? And what you think controls how you move. That's the easiest way you can begin to impact your life. And then there's a reason that phrase is on the back of that hoodie, where it says "move smarter." So "move smarter" means using your brain, right? Right there. Perfect. using your brain, using your nervous system to move in a smarter way, then moving better, and then you got those two, you can't help but feel great, in my opinion.
Right. Well, that's awesome. So throughout this video, we'll have your links, various links up there, mainly the stopchasingpain.com. So folks, be sure to check that out. And through there, of course, you can register for this workshop. You can check out all Dr. Perry's stuff. And I think through there you can link through to YouTube and Facebook, right, on your website?
Yeah, so I've got a temporary site up now while my new membership super awesome website's being built, and but you could, to top right, it clicks you off to all my social media stuff, and I've actually posted on my Instagram channel a few of the primal resets, like little 15-second teasers, and I show people some of the resets using some bands and kind of unique different ways, and I'll be adding a little taste here and there up to the workshop. So hopefully people will come on in and follow. I'd love to have them on.
All right, yeah, that's cool. I know I've been following you on Facebook, Instagram, and I check out your YouTube channel also. And you're always posting such
it's on
great
YouTube,
stuff. It's great. Your Facebook posts, I'm right there seeing those every morning. So you're very consistent too. You're posting every day. I love it. It's great.
Oh yeah, that's a big passion of mine. I'm a little addicted to my Facebook, without a doubt.
I think we all are. The thing that's cool about it though is you're putting it to good use. I'm trying to put mine to good use, where I share information that is going to benefit somebody somehow, hopefully. And I mean, you're doing that all the time. So I get on there. Any post I look at from you, I'm always learning something. So it's really great. Man, a lot of times I hit the share button because it's great stuff.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Everyone, just check out stopchasingpain.com for sure. And Dr. Perry, man, thank you again. This is awesome.
No, thank you. I had a lot of fun. I mean, it's great. I enjoyed it. It's nice to do a video chat, too. I haven't done one of those in a while.
And I just started doing them about a month ago because I still prefer in person, but, with busy schedules and traveling, it really just works great to do this probably more often now. But, I hit the in-person ones as I can. And so those
that's great. Well,
but this opens up, I can talk to people anywhere, basically. So it's cool. And you know that too. Oh, by the way, I have to mention your podcast. People need to check out your podcast. Now I'm addicted to that, which is a good addiction to have because holy cow, man! Some of the stuff people you're having on there, it's like boom, it's really great.
Yeah.
It's a great podcast series.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's hard to believe that I've crossed over 101 episodes now, and there's some people that have changed my life over the years that are on there, and I go back and listen to them myself, and I'm like, man, that was really great information that they shared, and I've got some big surprises coming up with the next couple of podcasts, so I'm really excited for that. And that's Stop Chasing Pain as well on the website, and you can get that through iTunes under Stop Chasing Pain or Stitcher Radio, soon to be to iHeartRadio. But I enjoy that for sure, and I'm glad you're listening.
Oh yeah, well I got it on the phone, man, because it's just easy through iTunes. Bam, I check out the feed. It shows me what I've listened to, and some I've listened to more than once. A couple of great hook things. I think Rick Daigle, Miss Scholl from California, the Institute of Motion.
Oh, Dalcor, yeah.
Is he the Viper guy?
Yeah, he's the creator of the Viper.
He's the creator of the Viper. That
he's really smart, that cat.
That was another one like this. I remember I was running when I listened to that. I was out running for about an hour, and I listened to that the whole time, and I didn't even realize an hour had gone by because I was too busy listening and learning. So it was really cool. Yeah, so definitely check out Dr. Perry's podcast, websites, everything. All right, man. Well, thank you, and always a pleasure to.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure to talk with you. Appreciate you joining me. So just hang with me for a minute here. I'm going to sign off. But folks,
Yes.
thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.
And be sure to also check out whostohealthy.com. We have another interview with Dr. Perry on there from a couple months ago, as well as a lot of other great people too. So this is Carl with Sterling Health Fitness and whostohealthy.com. Have a great day. Take care, folks.